So in the last 2 years, I have bought 11 Jeep FCs. And I haven't actually started building my own. So now it's time. I've pretty much accumulated everything I need to accumulate. I have a half decent cab, I have a motor, and I have a nice chassis. This all started about 2 years ago where I bought 2 Jeep FCs. They were completely stripped apart, bagged and tagged. The guy had started restoring a few pieces. The rear axle had been completely rebuilt, blasted, painted, everything. New brakes, all of it. So I took those. The cabs themselves were junk. They weren't really worth fixing. I mean, there was holes, dents, broken glass, everything you could imagine. So I decided at that point, let's take these two, let's take the good parts and sell them to people that could use them. I spent $1,000 on the 2 Jeeps. By the time I got done parting out stuff, like within 2 months, I had $3,500. So I used that money to buy this truck, the one I'm sitting in. Once I got that shipped from Denver, Colorado, I don't really restore. I like to build. So I decided right away that I wasn't going to use the drivetrain, wasn't going to use the axles, wasn't going to use the chassis. I just wanted the cab. It was a nice cab. It has its issues, but it's a workable cab. So I started parting that out. And then I found a pair of trucks for sale not that far away, and I bought both of those. Stole some parts off of those and then sold those 2 trucks. And then I bought another 2 trucks. I had one of them sold before I even got back home. I picked it up in Vermont. By the time I got home, I had a buyer. He came and bought that, and then I bought his off of him, the one that he gave up on because it wasn't really worth fixing. And then recently I bought 2 more. One of them ran and drove and had a title. The first one I've ever had that had a title.
Hey, there you go.
I guess that was forward.
Yeah.
It actually runs pretty smooth.
Yeah. I think so.
So I ended up by just flipping that one to somebody that needed a title in their state, because in Maine you don't need shit, actually. My rat rod is registered as homemade, so you know you can get away with that stuff here. Anyway, so I sold that to somebody that needed it. I made a few dollars, and I'm at the point now. It's like I'm just trying to sell everything I don't need because I want to build this. I am building my big Ford diesel project, which this almost became. I was going to put this on a F350 with a 7.3 diesel, and I ended up by not doing that. There was a lot of reasons that led to that. The biggest one being I found a pretty decent-ish Ford cab over and decided I'd put the Ford cab on a Ford chassis. And then the chassis that this is going on is the one that the Ford cab over came off of. It's a short, stubby, well-built chassis, and I decided to use it. So I'm finally going to start building this one and stop just buying trucks left and right and then selling them and hoarding them. I still have three or four of them in different states. The dually that's sitting right there is going to be for sale. The one I have at the end of my driveway is parts for this truck. And then I have another one on the other side of my garage that's also parts for this truck. So yeah, I'm gonna build this truck with the Chevy motor, well, Chevy drivetrain, Ford chassis. I'm gonna fabricate a custom bed. It's gonna be a little bit of everything. Um, so yeah, that's where I'm at, and this is me making some videos to show what I do. So the plan with this motor is to pretty much rebuild it. It's been rebuilt in the past, it's been machined, but it's never been in my hands. I want to get familiar with this motor. I want to take everything apart, even the stuff that's brand new and might not really need to be taken apart. I'd rather just do it myself. That way when it gets put back together, I'm familiar with the motor, I know everything about it. I put the parts in myself. If there's anything that goes wrong, then it's something I did and I can figure it out because I've done it before. So I'm gonna just start stripping it, finish pulling everything off of it. That way I can inspect it, make sure there's no cracks. I mean, I would assume somebody wouldn't put the time and effort into machining a block if it had cracks, but who knows, you know, maybe they didn't check it well enough, or maybe it's been sitting and something happened, or maybe the guy lied to me and you know, he tore it apart because something was wrong with it, even though it was a fresh rebuild. That certainly happens. So I'm just gonna pull it apart. So the first bit of good news is that a real quick look at this, I don't see any like blatantly obvious cracks or anything. Obviously I have to have it checked closer, and especially after I clean everything, but I mean, it's a good start. There's nothing right there screaming out at me. And the cylinders do look fairly clean. They all look pretty decent. This is all surface rust from sitting in my garage. It gets really damp in here, so as soon as I get these all cleaned up, everything's gonna get rust protected and everything. But it's a good start.
All right, so this is the donor truck, or one of the many donor trucks. I'm taking the axles, drive shafts, and transmission and transfer case out of this truck. At the moment, we're doing a motor swap into this guy's truck, but that's unrelated. So yeah, it's a 86 K20, so it'll have Dana 44 front axle, Dana 60 rear axle. They're gonna get rebuilt. I'm gonna pull the gears out, put different gear ratio in, pretty much replace everything, and take the transmission and transfer case out, which we're doing right now, and the drive shafts, which I'll probably end up by having to shorten the rear drive shaft to fix the wheelbase. But that's what we're doing right now. So I'd say this is a good place to stop for now. I'm going to be focusing on the motor swap on the two Chevys for a few days. Once that's all done, then I'm going to get straight back into working on my Jeep. I'm probably going to start stripping the chassis soon, trying to get some of the scale off and the rust. After that, I'm going to continue working on the motor. I need to wait for a couple tools to come in so I can pull the camshaft bearings, and then I need to measure everything to see what stuff is oversized. I know the cylinders are oversized, so there's possibility that other things have been bored. And if they have been bored, then I need to make sure I buy the right bushings, if they 10 thou over bushings, whatever. So yeah, I'm making progress. I'm happy to finally be working on this thing.